everyone, Coach Phil here with Coach Bud, coming to you live today, ready to drive some value.
What's going on, everybody? How you doing today, Phil?
I'm doing good. Hopefully my signal stays stable. I'm out on a project today, but I wanted to deliver as promised.
Awesome. I am actually taking a break. I'm sitting through my continuing education course for my real estate license and just kind of finishing that up. And then so we jumping on to, vision and goal setting. So obviously this is a pretty opportune time.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely, I think this is a great topic for us to add some value. Am I stable there, Bud? I just want to make sure.
Yeah, man, I can see it, but I don't see, I can only chat with people in the studio. I'm not sure how we combat that later on, and that's fine. We'll figure this out. This is all new. We're going to be starting this for, we'll be doing this a lot more often, so we'll get the hang of it. We're going to suck until we don't, right?
Yeah. So what I do is just pull up your, if you have like your phone or something like that, you can see go to the live event and see the Facebook comments there. But basically anybody that wants to join in this way, there's a link that you have to click in advance in order to comment via the StreamYard here that we're using. But yeah, I'll keep an eye on the Facebook comments. If you're tuning in, just give us a shout out, and let us know where you're watching from and what you got going on today. We love to interact with you, and that's what we're all about. We're not just on here to just so you can hear us run our mouths, right? We want to hear where you're at with your investing. And today specifically, we're talking about vision setting and goals as well. So yeah, we love to hear from you guys. We'll be asking some questions and engaging you guys if you're willing to do so, right? So yeah, but why don't you kick us off here? This is kind of your vision.
Yeah, man. So here's kind of something that I posed a question the other day in a mastermind that I'm in. When you're setting up goals, if you have a vision board and you have like 5 things on your vision board, how do you handle it when you achieve one of the goals? Do you take it one down at a time and then put a new one up, or do you try to hit all 5 goals and then replace the entire board? What do you use to set vision or your goals in that sense? Do you use like a whiteboard? Do you have like a PowerPoint? I have a friend of mine who has a PowerPoint slide with these things that fly across the screen that just constantly plays on his one computer monitor when he's doing certain things. But I was looking at the book Vivid Vision the other day, and it's basically saying that it's a 3-dimensional world that you can step in and explore when you're setting your vision, not only for yourself but also for your team, to create some sort of cohesion within the unit. If you are unclear about your vision and your goals, then no one else is going to understand what you're doing. At best, they can guess, right? So the one example that they gave was the author had a picture. He got a picture done of a goal, and it was only known to him. It was a table with 2 champagne glasses, right? And it was from a certain location, doing a certain thing with a certain person, but no one understood what that goal meant, including the person that he was intent on creating and achieving this goal with, had no idea what this photo actually was. So, clarity in the vision, clarity in the goal setting is another thing. But in the goal setting, if you're all driving together with that common theme and that common goal, trying to achieve that common vision, what I found was that the hallmark of the good company is the ability to promote that from within. And it leads to a culture of trust and dedication and willingness to achieve.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, man. So I'll tell you, Phil, someone asked me, what was my goal? And essentially what I had put out there was I wanted to hit, 30 purchases in 2022. I wanted to, hit a certain number. And by the time I turned 55, which is now, 2 years from now, it's actually the end of next year. I want it to hit a certain number. The funny part about goals is if you write them down, if you put them on paper and then you talk about them often, they seem to happen. Did you find the same thing?
Yeah, I did, for sure. I think, when I first started this, I didn't know that was a thing, and, as I went along and we started creating what we call cadences and KPIs, key performance indicators, and I started having measuring tools, it was very beneficial for me to be able to know what I was attacking on a daily or weekly basis. It kind of like got me focused. There's a thousand things you can work on, at a time with an investment company. For sure, the I wouldn't say it was like a goal board or a vision board necessarily for me in the beginning, but it was definitely like these are snapshot components of what I need to focus on, and as I had that in front of me, it definitely helped create the vision because, so just a little background for me is that, when I started my investment company, I was, linked up with Coach JP, who was the founder of this group here. And, the way we did is we had heads of departments, and I was head of redevelopments and construction, right? That's my background. That's where I fit well. So I've got 100 different things I'm focusing on during the day, as far as is the materials on a job site, the contractors getting paid or whatnot. But outside of that, like what was the goal and the vision of the company was for these weekly meetings that we would have together. And that helped me understand the bigger picture of what was going on. So for sure, very beneficial.
Great. Yeah. The one thing that I found, KPIs are great. When we're setting vision, do you find it's better to look for a number, or do you want to keep it kind of vague? Because I'm finding the more that I do this, it's not necessarily a forecast or a financial forecast. And if I do create a financial forecast, I find myself overthinking, as opposed to, like, for example, one of the goals that I had this year was pick up and go to Greece for 3 weeks with my wife. Obviously it was a little bit more, there's a little bit more thought process to it. We wound up taking a cruise instead of actually flying and living in Greece, which was kind of the initial intent. But hey, it was one of the goals on my vision board for this year, and we nailed it and set it up. And then, man, we almost didn't go, right? Because it's business. So we're constantly moving, constantly shaking. My wife, we just got a new hair salon. That was not on the vision board. It just kind of accidentally happened. But do you find that keeping your vision a little bit more vague is better? Or are you like the straight, I will do 10 rental properties, or I will do 1 multifamily, or I will, do 25, 30, 40 rehabs this year? Do you find it, that it works better for you?
I think it's a combination of both. I think it's a combination of both that works for me. I have a general vision because I think of like my elevator pitch, right? When I'm telling somebody in my company, I have a general overlying goal. Like, hey, I want to do 6 to 12 investment properties, whether they're flips or rentals, this fiscal year. And then I have a general goal and approach of doing, heavily being in the BRRRR strategy. But then, like the other day, I put a post out, and I don't know if anybody saw it, like I got a quadplex in Atlantic City, and, when I'm on the roof the one day doing early on inspections, and I notice, and I look down the entire block as a bird's eye view, I see 20 identical buildings, and I'm like, man, a vision started coming to my mind. I would love to own this entire block, just like playing the Monopoly game as a kid, So
new text message from Tracy Jones.
So I basically, I then started formulating a more specific vision then. So my general vision brings me into more specific visions. And, I put it out there, I did marketing with some Deal Machine. It's a great app, by the way, and I was able to, within 20 minutes, be able to put out mailers for 36 units, and to me, that's a vision that's more invigorating, if that makes sense. It drives me more because it's more specific. So I think the both are relevant for me, general vision setting and specific vision setting, but I think I get much more drive and passion out of specific visions.
Okay. So you're kind of running it the way that we would run turning it back to real estate, kind of the way we run a funnel, right? We're looking at getting that, maybe 100 prospects to generate 10 leads, to do 5 walkthroughs to get 1 purchase, similar to that, where you're kind of like, I'm going to blast this out there to the universe, and I'm going to say, my goal is to own 20 properties, or my goal is to create, somewhere in the range of, or like my goal is by 55 years old to be able to fly essentially private by 55. So that's like, and that's a very vague goal, right? But I also have done the research, and I know that it costs a certain amount of money per year for the private plane, and then it costs a certain amount per flight, which is a lot cheaper than you would expect. But that's beside the point. So in your sense, you're going, I'm going to do 6 to 12 projects per year on average, and that's great. But then when you got up on that roof, you're going, wow. Look at the size of the vision that I have in front of me, right? We call it, there are different levels in the military where we have a strategic plan, an operational plan, and then a tactical plan. So the 35,000 foot view, right? The 10,000 foot view, and then the on the ground view, if you will, when we're looking at that.
Yeah, I would say it materializes, right? I mean, let's stay with the analogy here, And by the way, everyone, keep an eye out for a new name for us here. We're going more national with this approach that are just limited to South Jersey. We're going to be doing AimHigh REI. So let's stick with the analogy, right? If I'm flying at a 10,000 foot, it's blurry to me. I don't understand my vision yet. But as I start approaching down from my landing, like I'm going in that general direction. I know I got to get down to that landing strip. The closer and closer I get, as I start putting application into the process, my vision starts to materialize. And I'm like, oh, okay, it makes sense. But I would definitely say that as I dial in, like I can't be all like, willy-nilly when I'm approaching the landing strip. I got to be dialed in as I start getting down that lower point. So that's where I was on the roof. I was like, okay, I'm starting to see it now. I'm starting to understand how my vision is possible, right? Because I have the general understanding and concepts of BRRRR strategy and rentals. And I've done the research that I want to be in the rentals and build long-term wealth instead of short-term riches, and stuff like that. So it starts to materialize for me as I go through the progress, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. On the podcast yesterday, the Aim High podcast, we had Brett Vogt, who was a former homeschooled student, alumni, and we were talking about something similar to that, in the fact that he had, the original goal of getting one property, and now he's looking at the broad spectrum. One thing that we're both noticing is that, and just, I know this is a tangent, but wealth does not necessarily equal capital. You can have all of these properties. You can have $10 million in net worth. It doesn't mean that you're making, $1.5 million a year or, something like that. It just means that you have a lot of equity. You have a lot of assets. You may or may not be
I'm cash rich, but real estate. I'm sorry, I'm cash poor, but I'm real estate rich.
Exactly. I'm going through that now because we've got the flips going on. We've got another 6 rehabs going on with the rental properties, but hopefully by December, the end of December, we're starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel at this point. But once that capital starts rolling in, but so the point of a vision here is to lean out the future. If you look 3 years in the future, you can be dreaming about where you want your company to be, where you want your personal life to be, in every metric. You can, and then you kind of work backwards from there. And JP was great at this. And a couple of times that I've seen him actually brief this, essentially, there were 2 ways that he talked about it. One was, if you want to make this much per year, make a determination of, hey, this is what my time is worth. This is the amount I expect to make, and then whittle that down to how much you make an hour. So it's, let's say it's $1 million divided by 52 weeks in a year, divided by 40 hours per week. And you're going to wind up in the just under $500 per hour range. And if that's what your time is worth, then start to figure out what you need to do to achieve that. So things that are not worth 500, delegate that stuff out so that you're constantly moving forward. The thing that I'm finding is that there are a lot of people that don't do that. They do exactly the opposite. They look at where they are, and then they design their entire system based on where they currently are. So when we're setting that vision, same thing, right? We're setting that vision and we want to be at this point, and then we start to backtrack that and whittle it down to where we are now. We have to start looking at, great, the trip to Rome. We're going to go ski in the Alps or something, something like that. We're going to windsurf in Aruba, which is great. But when you're doing things like that, you can look at those vague visions, those vague goals, and then make a determination. Okay, if that's what that costs, now how do I achieve that in 3 years or 2 years or 1 year from now by setting these goals and then then we start to add the steps to it, break it down into bite-sized chunks, and then go from there.
For sure. Yeah. We got to reverse engineer it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's got to make sense, you know? And, you know, I think that it is important though, to specific goals at the same time. It might change, you know,
Now you faded out on me.
are important. Am I dropping out on signal there? Just want to make sure we're good.
Yeah, just for 1 second.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
the specifics are still what drive me there. You know, like I gotta say, like for instance, like for me, when I sat down and looked at my investment strategy, you know, for rentals, I'm like, well, you know, we've got all these things that we learn about, you know, deferred maintenance. We've got, you know, deferred capital expenditures for large ticket items down the road. We've got, you know, your taxes, your insurances, or whatever it might be, you know. But like then there's property management, you know. So I had to sit there and look at it. I said, okay, well, what's my goal here? My goal is right now I'm actively involved in my company, but I want to be able to remove myself from it as well so that I can enjoy my time with my family while it's truly passive income. Well, you know, me owning my own construction company, I'm able to self-manage. So I say, okay, I believe I can handle 10 properties at a time, you know, and self-manage them myself, you know. So that becomes my first step in the long-term goal. And like, I got to have some type of a, you know, clear vision in the beginning to approach. And then over time I can get to these bigger grand goals, you know. It's like I feel like when you're talking to think of like personal small goals, you know, and then longer vision goals, you know, are going to help you get to those longer vision goals, you know. So it's a process, you know, of goal setting and vision setting that gets you ultimately to the bigger picture, you know. Some of my approach is more like I kind of like go where life leads me, you know, in a way, because like I can say, hey, I want to do 6 to 12 properties a year, but you know, for me to generate those leads and for me to say, hey, I can create that predictable result. Yeah, I've got some control over that, but we all know when an opportunity arises, you just take advantage of it.
Yeah,
you know, that could turn into 24 properties. Who knows? I mean, maybe you have a cap to your goal, but like, you know, the reality is life will dictate how our goals will shape and form. You know, it still has an influence. So yeah, you know, I just say keep within reason and understand, you know, don't get upset if you're not reaching your goal, but I reset my goals. You know, I reset every single week that I'm going to diet and exercise. Does it happen? I don't know. You know?
And then the Phillies play, and then you wind up sitting there watching all 10 innings, eating cookies or wings or whatever. Yeah. I'm tracking that. Yeah, man, that happens a lot on Sunday in this house anyway with the Eagles. And then pretty much every Flyers game as well. Well, you know, but that's something else.
So we got some questions popping up in the chat. We can, you know, circle back to them if you want at the end here, or we can answer them as we go. Do you see those questions in the chat?
I do not. I saw Robert Martin on Facebook. Yeah, okay. Let's. I cannot.
So I don't have any name. I don't have a name for this one, but even though you are busy, it is great insight into the need to stay involved in groups that keeps you growing, accountable, and balanced. I'm not sure what that is, but Sin Ferreris, what is your best advice to someone that wants to get into rentals and multifamilies?
Yeah. Do you want to take that, or you want me to jump onto it?
Go ahead. Why don't you start off with it?
Yeah. First things first. I know this is going to come across as self-serving, but Sin, get a mentor. Okay. Take a course, do whatever you have to do to get the basics under you. If you don't already, you're in a really good group here. So definitely, you know, reach out to some of the people that are in this group, because there's a lot of knowledge here. All right. You have 2,900 people roughly who are all in the same boat. We're all rowing the boat in the same direction. So if you want to get into rentals and multifamily, I will tell you this. There are 4 people that you're going to need in your corner right off the bat. You're going to need someone to find the properties for you if you're not doing it yourself. Make friends with wholesalers, make friends with real estate agents, and network with those guys. You're going to need a lawyer who is going to be able to write your leases, or leases are pretty much available online, but you're going to need some help in getting all of the black and white, you know, kind of narrowed down and making sure that your lease is ironclad and solid. You're going to need a property manager if you're not doing it yourself. And there are some pretty good free resources. Please feel free to reach out to me on Facebook, and I'll be more than happy to share those with you, or I'll drop them into the drop them into the Facebook page later on, things like stessa.com or apartments.com, where you can collect your rents online through ACH or Stessa, which does. And actually, Stessa just changed a few things here because they now have banking involved. So I have to double check and see if that's available for ACH as well. So you have your person who's bringing you the deals. You have your lawyer who's vetting your paperwork. You have your property manager who is managing your deals. And then you need somebody like Phil who will turn a property for you in a month or two. And then you'll be able to turn it over to your property manager and actually start to cash flow. The one thing that I will tell you is, for the most part, when you're in the beginning, and every company has an organizational structure, right? So you're going to have this. You're going to have, you're going to be in every position. You're going to be the lead generation person, lead manager, acquisitions, transactions, dispositions, sales, everything. You'll be doing it all, right? You'll be the project manager, and you'll be, the liaison to the property manager as well. So getting into that, get your 4 people, definitely start prospecting, generate your leads, do your underwriting. Underwriting is essentially guys, I'll tell you flat out, if you throw the $300 into bigger pockets, they have great BRRRR and rental calculators. They have a good rehab estimator. Check that out. Let's see. Yes. I don't know who just asked that, but yeah. Okay. So it's Robert. I'm tracking on Facebook. So if they're posting a comment on Facebook, it's just showing up as Facebook user. Robert, right. That's a great question. Would either of us have transitioned more quickly into commercial multifamily? Yes, I am involved in multifamily. I am a little bit more selfish. So I do like syndications. I just like to have a little bit more control. So the larger commercial multifamily properties, I'm trying to I want to put money into them, but at the same time, I like having that ability of a 10 and under mom and pop, bottom up type of situation where I can buy a 6-unit, an 8-unit, a 10-unit, buy it myself, renovate it myself, rent out each apartment as we go. And then all of the income comes back to me, and I don't have to worry about the bookkeeping, the accounting, the SEC rules within, the commercial multifamily. If you're looking for so there are 2 things that are the most passive investments that you can make in real estate. One is being a limited partner in commercial multifamily, and the second is lending money. Obviously, as a limited partner, you're going to be doing Zoom calls periodically to find out what the status is on your properties. As a limited partner, you're just receiving emails and updates from whoever it is you're investing, as a limited partner. And as a lender, you're going to be receiving emails and updates from whoever it is you're lending money to. Would I have jumped in sooner? Had I known what I know now? Sure. Why not? It's still a matter of funding the deals, right? So yeah, if you're interested in that, not a problem. Yeah, we can talk about that. We'll bring that up and check that out. But the underwriting is another major part of it that you really have to get your head wrapped around. Yeah, you got it.
Cool. I'm not sure. Do you still got me connected well?
Yeah, it's just you're frozen, but I can still hear you fine.
Yeah, I'm not sure why I'm frozen there, but
yeah, we got about 7 minutes left, Phil. So, do you have a we have an operations playbook here at AimHigh Properties that is the vision of the company and the direction that we're going to go. It's about 4 pages long. The vision, right? We have a vision statement. We have a mission statement. We have our 4 core values. That's 3 pages, right? Mm-hmm. The last one is, basically a description of our operations, and then everything else is organizationally structured. So, my vision statement is essentially, we're in the process of purchasing properties, renovating those properties. It's a BRRRR strategy. Okay. So we lost Phil. He's coming back now. All right. So page number 1 is the vision. We're in the process of purchasing properties. Our goal is to achieve a certain amount of revenue annually, and then donate a large portion of that to veteran mental health issues and veteran homelessness. The next is the mission, which pares that down a little bit, which kind of drives into our 4 core values. And our 4 core values are, if you're Air Force, you'll understand these. It's integrity, service before self, excellence in everything we do, and then have fun doing it. They're the 4 core values of AimHigh Properties, and that runs through our ranks. So here's why I'm asking that question. So if you have that structure, you have that goal oriented company outlook, right? Then you can provide that document to just about anyone and see that your organization is a well-oiled machine, that you're all moving toward in a certain direction. And then, hopefully it generates a desire to do business with you. Whether that's as a consultant, as a contractor, as a lender, supplier, whatever, right? Or even a customer if you're selling the property, as long as they know that you're a person who caters to the needs of others, and you have a specific vision, specific mission, certain goals, and then you're all rowing that boat in the same direction, to use the analogy I used earlier. It's more than just a standard Word document or PowerPoint slide. But the PowerPoint slides that we do and have that are incorporated with those 4 pages are essentially for organizational structure, and that's pretty much it. The whole AimHigh Properties with the 8 subordinate companies, and then the companies, each one of those has an organizational chart and so on and so forth with, who's in what position and whatnot. But that being said, the question is, how do you establish a vision for something that big? Right. When you start to grow, how do you maintain the vision across all facets of your company? Are you still there, Phil?
Yeah, I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah. Well, so I have experience in seeing it both ways. Right now I'm sitting in the position where I'm wearing all the hats in my investment company. When I first started, it was an organization. It was Anchored Homes, combined with my original company, Steadfast Homes, and we had 3 partners total. And then we had an acquisitions team member, we had marketing team members, stuff like that. So it's a different approach when you have a large team, right? Getting everybody on the same page with your goals and your vision, for sure.
Yep.
And then, running as an individual person with a company, it's myself, holding myself accountable. I think it's much easier on a singular aspect for me to understand I'm the only one to answer to myself, my visions and my goals, right? But when you're talking about an organization, it required, what we saw was a weekly cadence to that. And every time we opened up a meeting, we went through our core values, our vision, and our mission statement, so that it just continued to just kind of like get hammered into all of our minds of like, this is what we're doing here, because it is important to have those things. If you don't have those things, you're really just looking at dollars and cents most of the time, and it becomes very unpersonal, a lack of, personal touch, a lack of, emotion in the process. And that's not really what this is about. At the end of the day, we're dealing with super important stuff with people that need roofs over their head, for their families and to be able to provide for their families. So taking pride in that and keeping that vision set is important, and you'll see here in SJREIN, if you go to our website too, we have, I believe our core values are posted on there as well, that talk about people over profits. That's one of the biggest things that I like to focus on in business, is that money is a byproduct, of me treating other people well, and I create a lot more long-term relationships in the business aspect as well, when I have that in front of me and that vision or that core value or whatever. Right. So to answer your question again, just basically a large organization requires somebody leading that and making sure that we are consistently looking at those vision statements, those core values, those mission statements, to remind everybody. Otherwise, without leadership in that aspect, you're going to lose sight of that, or your company's going to lose sight of it. On a singular point of view, I think that it's important that you have those and you print them out. You have them on your websites, you have them wherever, to remind even yourself, hey, what am I doing here? Because you don't want to be a fugazi, right? We don't want to be a fake out there, just saying we're doing something on our websites and not really living it out. So it's important that when you make these, that these are true things that you are going to implement and seek in your company's vision and goals. So, yeah,
absolutely, man. So Phil, you got BHAG, right? Big, hairy, audacious goals. You got one for the 3 years out?
Big hair. Well, besides my beard, that's what you made me think of right away. I'm growing out my beard, but so for me, it's a lot of long-term buy and holds. But my next big goal that I'm starting to see, because I have a cap of 10 properties within Atlantic County, New Jersey, that I can self-manage. I'm already at 7 doors. Occupied, we have 3 because we have a quadplex, and I have an 8th door coming in the fold as well. So I'm quickly going to hit my first goal, right?
Yeah.
So I'm already starting to look at my next goal, which is New Jersey sucks for investing. I'm sure you know that. It's not the greatest cap rate. It's not the most tenant friend or landlord friendly state for us. So I want to start building my systems to be able to invest in other markets. Now that I'm starting to redial myself in here in my own personal internal company systems, now I can start duplicating them. I'm going to start putting that process in place. So the next, goal for me down the road, whether it be 1-3 years, like I said earlier, I kind of run it different for me. I don't say I have to be here at a certain point in time or it has to look specifically like this. I just say I know my next step and I need to start implementing those processes for that. So my next step is getting across state lines and investing in other states. So there's a couple things that I know, specifically, like we said earlier, I know my broad flight plan here. I'm aiming high, but then, as it's materialized, I'm like, all right, what is that? What do I require to get to that goal? So some of the things that I'm going to be looking at soon are going to be property management company, first of all, market analysis of where I want to go. And then once I find where I want to go, then I'm going to be looking for property managers, realtors, and contractors, in those areas. And that's the goal for me.
Nice. Yeah, man. So, that's awesome. Here's what we're looking for. So I've got 3 years out. We're 3 years out. We're looking at, let's see here, 1.2 per year, 100,000 per month. I broke it all the way down, 23,076 per week. That's 3,287 per day. It's going to take $100 million in assets with a minimum of 50 million net worth, and then be able to buy a tower in a major city. I will tell you that I am basing everything on my Section 8 properties in New Jersey, in Trenton specifically. I'm picking up properties out there because Mercer County pays very well, and I can still buy properties at a discount. We are self-managing. We did start our own property management company, so we're working on that now. We're going to build that out as well. So the goal is at AimHigh. Now, we have hair salon, property management, marketing, 3 portfolios plus my personal portfolio, commercial multifamily portfolio as well. So all that stuff's going to kind of tie into that. So we reached our goals for this year already. And we were kind of looking at that for that specific reason. But like, I just kind of want to finish that up quickly. So we're looking at that 1.2 million. And the reason that we're looking at such a high number, that 100,000, and that's net cash flow. I'm not looking at revenue. I'm talking about net cash flow. The reason I want it to be that high is because there's a veterans outreach initiative in the city of Philadelphia that a friend of mine started. His name is Joe Brooks. It's right by City Hall. We want to combat mental health issues, drug abuse, and homelessness in vets in the city of Philadelphia. And my goal is to be able to donate close to $50,000 a month to keep people off the street and stop 22 veterans from taking their lives. Last thing, and then I'm just going to make a closing statement about vision setting in an organization. But Movember came a little early for me. Few days ago, I lost a friend of mine, Andy Jaros. We had served together. He lost his fight with prostate cancer. So, a little bit of awareness. Guys, if you're paying attention to this, if you're watching this video, get yourself checked, get a blood test. There's very simple tests you can take and show if you have markers for prostate cancer. Please get that done. All right. Yeah. Sorry, I start to waver a little bit when I talk about it, but the guy lived in a certain way. He's not having a funeral. We're just having a big party. So here's the reason that I'm so big on setting goals and setting visions. And it's not just about yourself and it's not just about your team, but it's outside the company. So people look in and they see that you're functioning as one congruent super organism. They're going to say that within 3 years, maybe you're definitely going to achieve that BHAG, right? So you want to create and walk with a certain core customers, suppliers, walk through your vision together in the future of your company. So they don't randomly hear it about your BHAG. They know exactly what that is. They know exactly because you're stating it over and over and over again until it becomes true. And you want them to hear it directly from you so that they know exactly what you're doing, exactly where you are, and exactly where you intend to be so that it eventually becomes true.
For sure. Yeah, I like the for purpose model too that you speak about. You know, I think it's super important, you know, to be able to come up with a for purpose. You know, yeah, in the beginning you're doing this thing like, of course, I stepped into this thing of like, I want to make money. You know, like it's a great avenue and a great source for me to create, you know, stability for my family and a future for my family. Of course, that's obvious, but you know, once you get past that initial motivation, it's super important to have a for-purpose business model. Whether you're just donating to a charity, you know, with your proceeds or whatnot, or you're really deeply ingraining it into your business model. Like I like what you're saying, believe it or not, but I'm landing in the same world. So maybe we were destined to meet and to build this together, you know, because I am now finding myself in a position through series of contacts that I have VA HUD, you know, and I like that.
Yeah.
You know, for my rentals. I really do. I like that. It makes me feel good that I'm, you know, helping my country, you know, and the people that serve my country. And it aligns with my goals within my investment, you know, company that when I did my research, I saw Section 8 to be the most stable approach for tenants.
Yeah.
You know, so it really aligns well, you know, and through a series of events, that's where I find myself. And I just, it starts to, you know, yet again, my vision starts to materialize more. I'm like, yes, that lines up. You know, one thing that Coach GP shared with me a lot once in this process was whatever you're going to do in life, having a set of boxes that it needs to check, right? And what are those boxes that need to check? Well, one, it needs to respect my family time. It needs to respect my faith and my religion, right? It needs to financially make sense for me and my family, you know, and I have certain boxes that things need to check. So as my visions materialize, if those boxes get checked, I run with it. You know, it's just a no-brainer. It's a formula for success. I got my boxes that need to be checked over here. Opportunity arises. It checks the boxes. Let's move forward.
Yep.
You know, so that's what's cool for me. You know, like this thing is materializing for me quickly with, you know, VA HUD. I was on the phone with the contact the other day, and you know, yeah, there's still a need, Phil. We have VAs that have PTSD. You know what I mean? That the government's willing to pay for their housing. Yep. You provide the housing, we provide the contacts, and bring it together. You know, so it's just a beautiful thing. You know.
Yeah, man. Awesome. Okay. Well, Phil, we are 7 minutes over, which is actually pretty good for us.
Yeah. All right, cool. Well, everyone, just I got one last question. Phil, can you expand on what you mean by VA HUD? So VA HUD is basically, well, Bud, maybe you know a little deeper than me on this, but from my understanding, it is the housing assistance program for veterans assistance, for veterans, right?
Yeah. Picture like Section 8, but vets specific.
Yeah. So, all right, but yeah, just like I said earlier, everyone, please keep your eyes out. You know, there's going to be some new marketing. It's the same exact thing. It's just we want to go more of a national and broad approach for all the students and all the people out there that need help in the nation with their real estate investing careers. But it's going to be AimHigh REI. You know, so keep your eyes peeled for that. We have an event coming up here in January as well. I want to point you all to the website, www.SJREIN.com, for the upcoming event in January, the Boardwalk Powerhouse. You don't want to miss it. There was some modifications and changes. So if you've already looked at it, I encourage you to go back and look at it again. We've lowered the ticket sale price. So we've made it a hybrid version where just a handful, select few people will be able to join us live with coaches and teach, you know, mentors in the industry to be able to learn directly from us while we're offline. But while we're online, we have the virtual access that you'll be able to tie into that anywhere in the world, basically. So check it out. www.sjrein.com, or you can message us on Facebook here. You know, we would love to interact with you all and to add some more value to you. So any last comments, Bud?
Aim high.
Aim high. All right, everyone, have a great weekend. Thanks for tuning in.